So, welcome everyone. I'm Alexander Mihalcea, and today you're joined by Brad Staines, Managing Director of Aquamark. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome, Alexander. No problem at all.
Before I dive in, could you give us a quick overview of what Aquamark does?
Yeah, of course. So I'm the owner of Aquamark Cleaning, as you've already mentioned, and we deliver the service for window cleaning towards the facades in London's high-rise buildings and the greater area of London, and also Manchester and some in Liverpool. So that's what we do. But we kind of do it on. You think, okay, window cleaning is window cleaning, but we like to we want to focus on a great customer experience. So like the whole delivery mastery from the start to the very end.
Okay, that's fascinating. And what inspired you to join Aquamark? Was there a specific moment or experience that sparked this journey?
Well, it's quite funny because what actually got me started wasn't really something that go down too well in a sense. It was basically money driven. So
Mhm.
it was purely for money. I used to shop at this local clothes shop in Surbiton near me, and every now and then a guy would come in with these nice cars, and I was like 22, 23 at the time. And like you get astounded by these lovely cars, and you
Yeah,
get,
right.
go to buy them all. So then I said, what does that guy do? And he goes, he's a window cleaner. And I was like, no way. And he said, yeah, he goes, he's a window cleaner. So, okay, cool. So I just reached out to him. I said, look, I've got to have some of this. How did you start? And he told me, and that's when we got the water-fed pole system, which is the system that reaches up to about 4 or 5 floors, all deionized water through a water-fed pole. And then in 2015, a customer that I had for a while approached me and said, look, Brad, we'd like you to do all of our work. And at the time, they had 63 developments across the nation. And I then said, okay, look, I can do it, but you've got to give me time to build my team.
Yeah.
And they did. They gave me 6 months and I gradually built my team. So I then had to look at subcontracting some of my rope access stuff. But because the company that I was subcontracting it to, they were great guys, awesome guys, but they didn't really want to grow or they didn't quite understand my vision for how we should deliver the service. So I then said, look, I'm going to have to go in house. So I then started to grow my own rope access team. And now we've got 37 guys.
Yeah,
It's
that's
but I haven't
interesting.
stopped. Not That's not the finishing line. We're not finished yet. We've still got way more to go. So that was the story, really. But what I've learned is over the years is that we like delighting people, making sure that people are satisfied with the outcome and delivering that experience. So if you've got the old thing of deliver above and beyond,
Yeah.
but it really gives you that satisfaction of when you do that. So that I kind of changed my reason why, as an our why, from not so much money driven. Obviously, we're in business, we've all got to make money, but
Right.
to more focused about the outcome of the customer and the experience which they have. So that's if someone says to me now, why's your why? It's this.
Okay, I see. And what was your background before starting this venture?
Before I used to be actually, and you're going to laugh a bit, but I used to be a DJ in the nightclubs in London. So my dad, he was a DJ, and I then got into it from him. And when I was about 15, I started DJing in some pubs in Notting Hill in London. And
Okay.
then when I was about 17, 18, I then started getting into the clubs and I started DJing in the clubs and I was a DJ for a few years until about 26. So I had that going alongside my new venture, which was the window cleaning.
Yeah,
But I
right.
understood that I wasn't really going to make it as a superstar DJ. So I thought I better, with that, DJ was short term and I had a family coming, like a young boy coming. So I was like, okay, I need to get a bit serious now. And then that's when I then thought I need something that's going to be, long lasting and a bit of a legacy in a sense. And that's why I started
Yeah,
window cleaning.
interesting journey, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to when you first started. So, what major challenges or gaps did you see in the market that made you think this needs to be solved?
Yeah, so that's very good actually because no one's ever actually asked me that. But what it was is when I first begun, there was a system called the water-fed pole system, and nowadays you see it. It's everywhere now. People have it. It's really popular now. But when I first begun, it was not really heard of, and there was only a couple of companies that had it in the UK. So it eliminated the use of ladders and high-rise equipment that may or may not be safe. But
Yeah.
water-fed pole system came along, and they said, "Look, this is now going to eliminate all of the health and safety issues, or the risks." And then the operative is standing on the ground, and I saw that, and I invested heavily into that. So I thought, if I had that, it was a new, you talk about AI now and everything, it sounds really funny, but it was like a new technology back
Yeah.
then,
Right.
because no one had ever seen this before. So it's like deionized water, you spray the water on, and there's a bit of a technique to it on how you make sure that the window comes up its best. But the way it works is, if you don't do it properly, then it leaves the windows like probably worse than what they were first in first instance. So I saw this working pretty well, and just invested in that, really. So, and that helped me grow the business.
Okay, that's interesting. And could you elaborate on why the existing solutions weren't meeting these needs?
So it was, I think it was because, like, also with deionized water, it's got all the minerals, etc. So it's like you're reusing the water in a sense, and it's not so much of a waste. So it was also very ozone friendly, and like good to the landscape, etc. So what happened was, is one of the things that really helped me take me to a good commercial level, let's just say, was I was cleaning. I started off with domestics. So I started off with domestics because that was the easier stuff to approach with. So I used to go around, hand out these flyers, and then try and build up my domestic rounds in that way. And there's a very nice area, St George's Hill in Weybridge, and in there is a German designed house called Hoof House. And Hoof House was designed from all natural timbers and natural materials. So it was a house that was designed by a German guy called Peter Hoof, but two
Okay.
English businessmen invested in his vision, and he built three of these hoof houses in St George's Hill, Weybridge, and one was for each of the investors. They were brothers, and one was for himself, but a show home as well. And I was lucky enough to make contact with him, and then he then said, right, all of our hoof houses that we build, only Aquamark with their water-fed pole system, the deionized water system, will help, because it aligned with their vision of using these sort of like natural materials to build these houses. They were absolutely amazing, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Have you seen them? They're absolutely amazing. The hoof houses. It's incredible how they work.
Yeah, right, right, right. So, for example, I have a curiosity by then. So, you highlighted some challenges with electric infrastructure in London. And how is this affecting the cleaning industry ability to go greener?
So the biggest thing so if you look at you've got two areas of the cleaning industry, but there's many, but let's look at it top down. You've got like the domestic cleaning, which is your daily office cleaning or your daily cleaning for communal areas, who are vacuuming, floor care, etc. Then you've got the window cleaning side of things and facade care. If you couple both of those together and you say, okay, as a whole, what's the effect it has on a whole
Yeah,
in that sense? It would definitely be traveling and the chemicals, because the traveling for us, it's water fed pole. Like we have in our system, we have to have the van with the system installed in it.
yeah, right.
So whereas the rope access side, the guys can get public transport, etc., but we have to transport quite a lot of equipment to and from the sites. So the problem with that is, and because we're ISO 14001 and we have a lady that runs our ISOs for us that works in-house, a health and safety officer, she's very diligent with that sort of thing. She investigates it all of the time, and our commercial vehicle partner that we get all of our vehicles from, we're constantly asking, can you please tell us the upgrade of the electric vehicles as it stands now? And where they struggle is, and where there's a massive downfall is, the way they can't go for too long in the range with the weight. So if you
Yeah,
carry, because we have like 750 litre tanks, so that's 750, sort of like kilos. That's then taken that. So the van is fully laden most of the time. And what that does is that reduces the range of which the batteries can go. But then also the charging infrastructure in London at the moment isn't great at all.
yeah,
I know it's getting better, but it isn't great at all. So up to last year, I had a Tesla. So it was a very nice car, really enjoyed it. And I had it for about 4 or 5 years. And I was very fortunate enough to I took advantage of that home charging scheme. So where you say, I've got a new electric car, fully electric, you show them the papers, and then they come and install a electric system, a
Yeah.
charging system on your house for you,
Yeah.
free of charge. So that was great. I don't believe that's around anymore now. So I was fortunate enough to have that. So I used to charge my car every night, or with the Tesla's the best for the range. So I charge
Yeah.
it maybe twice a week. It was awesome, brilliant car. But if ever there was a time that I was traveling far and I had to rely on the London infrastructure, it would be crazy. Sometimes I'd have to find underground car parks to charge, mainly at Westfields or something like this, or Battersea Power Station, to kind of use their charging, and it was a lot more reliable than the ones out on the street. Where I'm quite fortunate to have a home charging system, when we compared the prices of putting a home charging system in now, because that free install isn't around, to all of our guys, we have like 15 vehicles. So to have all of them installed, plus they would only have to work 3 to 4 hours a day before they'd have to charge again, and we'd have to rely on the London infrastructure, and it's just not there. So it would have a huge impact on our revenue, because we wouldn't be able to get a lot of the work done. But we review it every year. It's about every April we do it, and we review it every single year. And it's just not there at the moment, unfortunately. But the beauty of the cleaning, as you mentioned before, the cleaning with the daily office cleaning, is you have store cupboards there, etc. So you have these heavy machinery, these floor care machines, that then go there and they store them in their units on site. So the cleaning operatives have only then got to travel there themselves. They've got no equipment, nothing. They arrive and it's all there. So if you look at it as a clean industry, you have to kind of divide it into the window cleaning, facade access, and then of course the office cleaning or the daily cleaning. It's two segments in a sense.
So let's go back to when you first started. What major challenges or gaps did you see in the market that made you think this needs to be solved?
So what we try to do is we try to so we say, if you imagine we've got 15 vehicles, but we've got like 37 guys. So we try and get people to meet up, etc. So we're going into London. We're using less vehicles because the guys we're meeting, etc., just outside of London. Or we have this big map in our office, and it has all the postcodes and the whole Greater London, everything on this one map. And we've got pins where everybody lives. So what we try and do is, and this is a few reasons why we do it, but one of the reasons is for travel. So we try and get all of our teams, and we connect them geographically. So we have the same team members go to the area that's close to them. So we've got a couple of guys that live out near Heathrow. They cover all of our West London stuff, like Hendon and Edgware and Brentford and all that sort of stuff. They cover all of that area for us. So we've got 4 guys over that way, and they all cover that area, rather than travelling all the way across London to East London, where our biggest site is Royal Wharf. So we've got a massive site over there. It's 3,600 units. So, and now that site actually is called a static site. We've got 5 guys there every day, and all of those 5 guys live within a stone's throw of Royal Wharf.
Also, what was the breaking point that made you decide to tackle this problem?
A couple of them were with us before we had Royal Wharf. It's just coincidence that it's close by. But when we recruit, certainly for a site that size, we look for within a 3-mile radius of the development. And likewise we do One Blackfriars. One Blackfriars is also a static site. So all of our static sites, we try to recruit close by. So it's easier for travelling. It's a lot less hassle in that regard. But also it makes for better travelling and a whole lifestyle of our operatives. So now they're not spending 1 hour and 1 hour and a half commuting. It's more like 15 to 20 minutes maximum. So they can make sure that they're not rushing off the job because they've got to get a train, or they've got to get somewhere because it's going to be another hour and a half or 2 hours sometimes if the traffic builds up. So that's something that we are constantly always aware of. We have, as I said, postcodes and areas of which our teams operate in, and then we set up teams in different postcode areas, to cover those jobs. Yeah.
Okay, so walk us through how Aquamark addresses these challenges. What makes your approach unique?
Well, you're dealing with people. As always, when dealing with people, it always throws up its challenges, because the same person could provide different challenges depending on which mood they wake up in every morning. So what we try and do is we try and offer consistency. So when I say that is, and I know it sounds really simple, but we have a couple of subcontractors as well that work with us, and they've been offered more money than what we pay to go elsewhere, but they stay with us because it's consistent. Our work is consistent, and we're very loyal to our guys. And if you work with us and you understand the Aquamark way, we have 4 core values. Whenever someone joins us, we have to train them on our 4 core values and how we like to deliver our customer experience. And we have what's called a brand book. And in that brand book, it's a 16-page document that we put together back in 2019. And it tells you the whole journey of Aquamark, how it began and what our vision is. And also in it, it's got 2 pages of our 4-step process on site. So like you have to go and see the client, explain to them what's happening, etc. And then we have to do all of that under Aquamark's tone of voice, which we call it, which translates into our 4 core values. So anything we do has to align with the 4 core values. So with that, we like to offer that kind of company culture where the guys know that they're familiar with us and we're familiar with them. And you get to understand their personalities. So like Aquamark, any company has a personality. If we look at it like a person, it has a personality. So they understand Aquamark's personality and we understand theirs. So we like to understand like their personal life as well, because we want to, like, I always believe that like people go with work-life balance, etc. But it's almost like it's just life balance. I believe it's just life balance. Work is just a segment of life. And like, I don't want to go too deep because I know we're limited, but I have this life chart. So it's like a lifeline. So you live to roughly about 80 years old, and then where you are, etc. This is a journey. So we're all on a journey. And we've got to feel it with as many great experiences as possible. Or great experiences can be negative experiences, but as long as you learn from them, they'll also be great experiences, depending on how you look at it. So we have our bi-monthly team meetings, and I always go on about my lifeline. And I always say to guys, like, what are you doing? Like, you getting 10,000 steps in a day? You trying to read? You trying to self-develop? Because if we're getting a better people come along to deliver our service, they're more likely to deliver a better service, but also be in a better mood consistently, because they've got a bit of a reason why. They've got a, you know, like a bit of a goal of what they're trying to achieve, most time outside of work, but the work feeds that goal. And I always explain to them, look at work or earning money, or when you come to work, unless you're very wealthy, you still have to come to work. So come with a bit, use that as a reason why, or how you're going to get to your reason why. And that's what I try and say to the guys. So we have our guys. I have guys working with me since 2006 and 7. So that they're our long-standing guys, and we have a low staff turnover because we build this company culture where we invest in the people, not just for work. Like of course we give them normal training like the IOSH and the health and safety and all that sort of stuff. Of course, that goes without question, but we give them training individually. And we look at how they can improve themselves individually. And I think that gives us a consistency of having those same guys, and also we're reliable for them as they are for us.
Okay, and also when you talk to potential clients, what's the biggest misconception they typically have about what you do?
The misconception. So it's funny you mentioned this, Alexander, because we're just doing our social media, like our marketing message for the next 3 months. And the 2 things that pop up is communication and resistance. And whenever we do our marketing campaigns and our tone of voice, or the tone of voice of our marketing campaigns and the message that we want to get out, we always ask some of our clients. So we always ask our clients for feedback, etc., regularly. That goes without saying. But whenever I do this, I ask a few key clients and I say, look, what challenges have you had recently? What do you feel that we should offer in this industry? Or not just us, but what do you feel that you're struggling with contractors and with your day-to-day, that perhaps I could speak about or even offer awareness to, or even better, our services to improve that for yourselves? And it was always communication and resistance. And communication is knowing where the guys are going to be, so when I say guys, I mean like contractors in general. So let's say, for instance, our client, our audiences are development managers and senior portfolio and development managers. So the senior portfolio managers would cover off multiple developments. So they're not necessarily on site, but they touch base with them probably once or twice a month. But they like to know that they've got good contractors on site, because then it gives them peace of mind. So they know that it's just being managed well. And then obviously the development managers are those that are on the ground. They're on site managing the development day to day. So when I say communication, it's knowing that, let's say, for instance, window cleaning, for instance, because that's what I do, but it could be adapted to any contractor. So we give them a poster, a notification, and we break down the building. So if development's got multiple buildings on it, we say, right, we're going to clean this building on day 1 or day 2. We give them dates, and then this building in on that day, and that building that day, so on. So that's step 1 of communication. Then there's the during communication, where our guys are going into the manager. So let's say you're the manager, and we're saying, Alexander, just to let you know, as per the structure, Goshawk, the building has been cleaned today. We've got 1 more day on it. It's on target. We're going to be finishing it tomorrow. As we said, we'll come back to you tomorrow. No problems today. Then the next day we come in and we say, look, Goshawk is now finished. We're in line with the schedule. No problems to report. Everything went well. We're now going to start this building. So, and it's that sort of during communication. Then there's the post communication, which we get, our system sends out job cards of all of the images, etc., and any notes that have been taken during that clean. So our clients get that at the end of every building or a clean, whatever setup it is. So then that's one communication tool. And then we have a thing called the post-clean communication, where either me or Dan reach out to them, and then we have a Teams call, or we go and meet them in face-to-face. And we say, like, how did it go? What can we do to better? And then let's book in the next clean and schedule some dates. Now they're fully, kept in the loop of everything that we've done so far. And then they've got the job cards. And the reason being we do that is because they've got customers, in a sense. So in our industry, it's the residents of the building. And then they're going to be asking questions. So we try and foresee those questions and provide our clients with the information before the questions are asked. And that's the communication part. And then the resistance part is, now this is funny, Alexander. I always wonder how people are in business when I hear this. So I go to some developments, certainly for quoting stage, and I say, look, what's been your biggest pain, etc. And they're like, the current window cleaning company, they say they can't get to this, and then they literally refuse to even try and solve this problem. They come up with all these questions or resistance to say as to why they can't get to this. So I then give my views. I'm like, well, I can't see a reason as to why this is not being done. And we've had this on 2 projects. One's one Blackfriars and one's a tower in Vauxhall. There's areas of the buildings that have never ever been cleaned. We've gone along and then we've cleaned them, and it's been no problem. But what it is, and I don't want to put words to anyone's mouth or anything like that or assume anything, but what I strongly feel it is perhaps it might be the company culture, because they're lacking the can-do attitude. So all of my guys, certainly the ones that have been with me for a long time, I'm like, okay, what can we do? Like, whenever they come with me a problem, I'm like, don't just come with a problem, come with me with a solution as well. So tell me the problem, and then I want you to think of a solution before you come to me with that problem. So it's almost like we're trying to proactively find a way around the problem. And I don't think a lot of companies have that mindset. And I think that gives them the resistance. So therefore, they can't be bothered to look for the solution. They just know the problem. So they report the problem, and then they leave the customer with it. And that grates against them, and it gives them that resistance and that whole customer experience journey, and that's where I think we're different in that sense. We try to find a solution to the problem,
Okay, and also, could you share a specific success story of a client who saw significant results using your solution?
Yeah, of course. Well, my biggest one, or the one that I use most frequently, and the only reason I use it is because it's the most iconic building that we have on our portfolio in London, and that's One Blackfriars. So it's a large 55-story building just next to Blackfriars Bridge in the centre of London. And that was when we took it over. It stood for 5 years, and the managing agent there is a good customer of ours, and they had heard about how we had this kind of can-do attitude. And they're like, Brad, we've got this problem over at One Blackfriars. could you go and have a look at it and see what you can do to solve it? So we went along, and we was on a trial basis to begin with. And there was a particular area of the building that's never ever been cleaned before. And also there was 3 BMUs. So BMUs are like cradles, building maintenance units. So they're the cradles that come down the side of the buildings. So there was 3 BMUs installed at this building. Never had all 3 been out at the same time. And the window cleaning program for this building was supposed to be 4 total cleans in 1 year. So every 3 months it had to have a fresh new clean. And they'd only ever managed 2 cleans in the entire year. And what happened is the previous company had put 2 guys on it, static, and we found out that they had a bed upstairs in one of their store cupboards. And a lot of the time they were sleeping on the floor, and just during the day, they're supposed to be working and they were sleeping on the floor. So as soon as I saw this, I knew what the problem was. I didn't say it. I was like, okay, fine, no worries. I said, we can do it. Give me the contract, we'll do it. But they were only happy to give us it was like a 1 chance. They said, we're not going to give you a whole contract. We'll give you a 1 clean purchase order to see if you can manage it. And we were then noted down because it was St. George. St. George is an arm of Barclays. So we had the eyes of St. George on us as well, because they were also stressed with this issue as well. So we had them watching us constantly. We had to have weekly meetings with them all the time to tell us the progress. And then basically we were the first company to ever have cleaned the entire facade and have all 3 BMUs out at the same time. So the reason I say this, I smile while I say this, is because the manager that used to be there, who's now moved on to another development, he's taken with us. We've got a great friendship now. We've built a great friendship with him now. And he always says to me, blimey, he goes, you rinsed that project, because on LinkedIn, I'm always posting about it. And I was like, look, we're the only company to ever have done one Blackfriars as a whole clean, and also have 3 BMUs at the same time. So of course I'm going to be, using this a lot on LinkedIn and marketing. So we've used that as a good marketing tool, and it's actually won us a lot of contracts. So, so that's my biggest success story, as you say. Yeah, it's brilliant. Sorry, say again? Yeah.
Yeah. That's really awesome. And looking at the broader industry, what key trends are you seeing emerge?
You may think that it doesn't really affect us, but what I'm noticing, and I look into AI a lot, and I'm constantly on ChatGPT. I'm being told that I'm obsessed with it apparently, but I'm just constantly on it because of its advanced skills and the speed of which it's growing. It's absolutely phenomenal. So I also look into, okay, how can this affect my industry and what I'm trying to do? So I'm constantly looking into this. And there's 2 main leaders. You've got the cradle, which is the BMU with these robotic arms, and they're cleaning the building. And then there's the other version that's leading the way, is what's called the spider. So it's a big square box, and it has all of the, the the deionized water, etc., that scrubs away behind this box, but it's placed against the facade of the building. And the reason it's called the spider is because you've got these cables coming out of it, and you have to have eye bolts at the top of the building where these cables are installed to, and then you program it. I haven't looked into it that far, but I think you program it online on a computer program, and then you say, right, this is the dimensions of the building. We're installing this system in here. Go ahead and clean it. But what I'm finding at the moment is like, to get that installed in your building is so much money, hundreds of thousands of pounds. So I just can't see buildings in London coughing up that sort of money. Not when you think, or certainly not right now, when everything is going up anyway to incredible amounts. Like, we're getting managers come to us, and we're having to renew contracts, and our costs are going up. Obviously, as a business, our costs are going up, like 6-7%. So we're having to put that onto a lot of our customers. And then when we're doing that, they're saying, look, we can't even pay last year's price, let alone this new increased price. So we was going to come to you, Brad, and ask, could we have a decrease? And I was like, well, no chance. So we have to find a bit of a middle ground. And so with that in mind, I just can't see it. Certainly probably not for the next 5-10 years, unless the government comes out and says, here's, millions of pounds of investments to go completely AI on facade cleaning. But then the UK government is so far in debt, who knows what's going to happen. But it's kind of like, I can't see that happening, because they're not going to give money just for cleaning the facade. So that would be one thing that I would say is kind of the future of that, in a sense. Those are the two leaders anyway that I can see at the moment. It's certainly being branded. I'm on some forums, etc. The things that's been spoken about the most are those two, sort of like technology outcomes. So the small changes, the big thing for us this year, and well, it was towards the end of last year, it was October of last year, was this geographical change that I mentioned about with the teams. We had a big shake-up of the teams, and then we had to split up some teams and then collectively put them together so they're all geographically, like close to the jobs. That was the biggest thing. We done that last October. That was the biggest thing that we've done for a while, I would say, because now people are traveling 15, 20 minutes when they were traveling an hour, 1 hour and a half commuting. So that was for sure been the biggest thing. And the other thing is before, this is part of a cost saving exercise as well. Before we use the squeegee rubbers it's old tradition, but we still use squeegee rubbers. And in this day and age now, there's nothing better. So we use that. And what we done is this was a cost cutting exercise, but in a way it's kind of saving materials as well. So we've hired in a person that runs our stock for us, and he works now like 1 day a week for us, and he completely manages our stock. So we've changed. We used to give all the guys or the vans, we used to give them big boxes of rubbers, and it would be down to them to kind of manage. And a lot of the time they'd be a bit wasteful. But now what we've done is we've got larger reels of rubber, and what we do is we cut off like what they need. And then once every Monday morning, all of our teams come together, all the vans, we come to our warehouse, and the guy that manages our stock, he stands there like at the stock cupboard, and basically gives out 1 to 2 rubbers a week. So it's more manageable now. It's more, we can control it a lot more rather than it just being, oh, here's a box of 50. Let us know when when you run out. And then a lot of it would be waste. A lot of it would be, being completely honest, a lot of it was wasted. So we've really streamlined that now. So our stock is being closely monitored. It's now on our system, who has what. So we're reviewing it weekly now. So that was a big cost saving exercise, really, but really it's a materials use as well. So we found that.
Okay, and because you mentioned this, how can businesses in your industry balance the cost of new technology adoption with the need to remain competitive?
Use as well. So we found that because we've got this new system now as well, like it's a technology system that we have, it's a brand new system. And what we've done was on it has a very good stock management system. So we've connected to, it's called HubSpot. It's basically, we've connected to HubSpot, which is our CRM. But we're quite fortunate in a way that it's twofold, really. We're quite fortunate that we can afford this system because it's about like £1,800 every month to have this CRM that we have. And then we then pay a further £2,200 a month on our scheduling system. So the pair of them combined, and they run our operations. So it's a lot of money we pay a month for this. But we're quite fortunate to have the money to invest in that. But what we found was, Alexander, is when we invested in that, we then kind of found that we get great returns. Because we kind of saw, we looked down the tunnel, we were, okay, we think there's going to be a benefit from this, but now we're here at the other side, we can really see the benefits of that. And then what we found is the cost of our stock has dropped quite a bit. Like it's because now we're monitoring it, but on a good system as well. We used to monitor it before, but the system was never really reliable. But we've got a really good, reliable system. Because we've got so many guys now, we had to get someone in charge of the stock. He does a few other little bits as well, but he maintains our warehouse now. Like all the equipment is kept up to scratch. We get it serviced regularly and all that sort of thing. But one of his key areas is the stock management. But we're lucky enough to have a good system that we've invested in that enabled us to really leverage that. And now we're seeing the benefits of that, Yeah, they're definitely, yeah. Shortcuts. They're trying to look. So I have this thing, like whenever, it's funny because whenever we have a couple of people come in, not every person that comes into Aquamark is a successful story. It's business. But when I say we're very lucky because we have a low staff turnover, that's very fortunate, and that's rare in our industry. That's very rare. But I believe it's because we invest in the individual rather than just, oh, here's what we do, get on with it kind of attitude. It's like, okay, we like to understand and learn the individual, and then we invest in that person. But what I think is one of the best things is like when the guys kind of come in, they kind of leave. But sorry, Alexander, what was the question again? Sorry, I forget the question. Oh, yes, that was it. So when the guys come in and they don't always work out, or sometimes our good guys make the wrong decision, we advise them. But what I've got is like small mind. So I always say it like I say, they just got small minds. They look at things small mindedly, and what I mean by that is it's short term. So people think of like today or tomorrow or this week, and they don't think of next month, next year, next decade. And that's what I think is the problem, is because people look at it in that way. They think, okay, I've got a problem. How can I solve it now? And 9 times out of 10, if you're reactive to a problem rather than proactive, you're going to make the wrong decision, or sometimes it's going to come back and bite you in the bum pretty soon. So what we try and do is I also categorize people into like reactive and proactive people. So I try to be proactive. So like our scheduling for our team, we schedule 2 weeks in advance. I'm told that's rare in our industry, because most people, when they come along from other companies, they say, wow, we don't even know what we're doing tomorrow, let alone 2 weeks' time. And I was like, but the reason we do that is because we can see the equipment that we're going to need for that job. We can see if there's any issues going to arise. We can try and be proactive in any problems that may arise and foresee them before they arise, which saves time, it saves resources, it saves all of this stuff, which is brilliant. But what it is I believe it's because people are reactive and they've not foreseen that problem, because they're reactive people. And they're small minds. So they think you've got to really open it up a little bit. Like I used to use this old analogy of standing on stilts. So like you've got the noise, the day-to-day noise of running a business. And some of my guys would come to me and say, oh, Brad, this problem, that problem. And I was like, don't worry about it. And they're like, why are you so calm? And I was like, because I'm standing on stilts and I can see over the noise and I can see in the distance and I can see our vision and I see our journey. And do you know what? It's looking good. So don't worry about it. Then don't get bogged down with the small problems day to day. Try and rise above them and look for a solution to those. And you'll find that those little problems eventually just go away and you're just on a great journey towards your vision. And that's kind of like how I think, this is me thinking and assuming on why some other companies may come across this problem and they don't really benefit from these big investments or systems that can really help them,
Okay, and for example, what small changes have you implemented that have made big differences in efficiency and sustainability?
Oh, I would say take 1 day out a month, every single month, and work what's called on the business. And this is a term that's many people know this term. And I learned this term from a business coach that I had a few years ago. Great business coach. And he told me about working on the business. And it was, so your day-to-day stuff. Have you ever seen that video, the rocks and the sand analogy, where the guy puts in the sand? Yeah. So the rocks, he likens it to rocks in life. So that's valuable time with your friends, family, building great connection, relationships, health, fitness. So your own health and etc. for your body and mind. So he likens it to that. But in business, let's use the business analogy. It's taking a step back and spending time on your rocks. There was a great book by Gene Whitman, The Traction, and it's like the EOS system. So he talks about your rocks. And what it is you have 90-day goals and you work on your rocks. And those are the things that are really going to change the business for the better. So like we came up with the stock system on one of our rocks days. So we have once a month, at the end of every month, we have a rocks day. So we look and think, right, okay, what do we need to review? How's it been for the last 30 days? How do we need to look at it for the next 30 days? And then, of course, the quarter and the overall goal of 12 months. And so you need to make sure that you take out that time to work on the business, because you can get bogged down with the day-to-days, the emails, the calls, the firefighting, and that's in the business. You're in the business and you're surrounded by all of this noise. When you work on the business, as I said, you elevate yourself, you stand on stilts, and you can rise yourself above this noise and you can see further into the future, or you can see your vision a lot clearer, and you can navigate your way around this noise because you're rising above it. And I would definitely say take that day out to work on your rocks of the business.
Great. So as you wrap up, what's next for Aquamark? Any exciting developments on the horizon?
It's funny you touch on this subject. So I could go on for hours about this subject, Alexandra, but I'll try and keep it brief. So this year, I want to get out my podcast. I'm starting. So this is great to be on your podcast. So I want to start my own podcast, but the reason being is because I want to start a podcast and bring in industry leaders of our industry and service-based industry, because I want to be able to give people that are trying to start their business. And that previous question you asked me about what advice would I give business owners? It's exactly why I want to start this podcast, because I want to be able to give the business owners that sort of advice, but I want to get in the industry leaders and then be able to give them the advice that they can have to hopefully help them develop their business. So that's one. Secondly is I want to design our own systems. So I talk about HubSpot, and there's another system, a scheduling system that we use for our team. Now, that particular system has its flaws, but because we've been through so many systems over my 20 years of being in the business, I now want to design my own. I want to get that up and running by October. And then also, we want to invest and emerge or acquire other businesses in our industry. But what we want to really nail down is we want to deliver great customer experience, but get that message out that it's not, in our industry, people talk about the 4 key methods of cleaning, which is rope access, BMU, water-fed pole, and conventional hand tool, or like cherry picker. So people know that. They know, they don't really want to come. No, if you ask a carpenter, okay, can you build these wardrobes for me? You won't want to know, okay, what jigsaw you're going to use, what hammer you're going to use, what screwdriver you use. You just want to know that you want to build a great piece of fine craftsman. And that's what we want for Aquamark. And that's the message we want to get out. We say, look, don't worry about the methods. We've got them covered. Don't worry about that. We just want to deliver a great service for you and your clients to know that, don't worry, it's taken care of. The job is taken care of. You give us the window cleaning program. We'll go ahead and carry it out for you exactly as we've explained and agreed. So that's the message that we really want to get out. And that's why I feel the podcast will help us, because it elevates us it'll give us that platform to tell that message that we are key persons of influence. We want to be leaders in our industry for customer experience and delivering great customer experience.
Awesome. Then that's really awesome. And for listeners who want to learn more or potentially work with Aquamark, what's the best way to get in touch?
So we've got our website, which is aquamarkcleaning.co.uk. But I do take people towards my LinkedIn platform, Brad Staines. So it's post on there regularly. I'm trying to get a bit better with LinkedIn. I started last April, and you know what it's like, Alexander. When you first start, you don't know what to post, you don't know how to do it. And so now I'm trying to be a bit more strategic with it. I'm trying to give this message across, this customer experience message, and delivering that company culture as well. We talk a lot about our team on there as well, like about how we develop our team and individuals and motivation and build people up in that sense. So I would say those 2 platforms for sure are best.
Perfect. So thank you for sharing that, for sharing those insights about your company, about you, and about the whole story. And thank you for this amazing podcast session.
No, thank you, Alexander. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
See you in the next episode. Bye.
Yes, good luck. Take care.